It's the sound of Rory McIlroy just striping one right down the fairway at 10. Yep. It's a perfect one, BK. The last player from Stanford. Note of the day?
He won. Tigers won since then, obviously, but nobody. That's shocking.
It is.
I mean, Conrad Ray has an unbelievable team, puts out such great players. It's shocking that no one has won since Tiger.
Here's another Georgia Bulldog, John.
He loves Coors Field. That's his first home run away from Coors. 7th home of the year. But if you're talking about all-star catchers, excellent.
He's got to be in that conversation.
Yeah, especially some of the other guys that have had off years. Real Muto Murphy, I think, head of the class, but he's definitely in that talk for sure.
Be safe! You're on the edge of your seat all the time now. The 2023 season features the highest stolen base rate since 1961. Oh, that's what speed will do. Everybody in the ballpark knows. Through this season's first 75 days, we're on pace for 3,483 steals. That would be the second highest total in the live ball era. Ron Acuna Jr. is on pace for over 30 home runs and 60 stolen bases. No player in baseball history has ever done both in one season. Baseball just got even faster. With the self-proclaimed fastest man in the world emerging in the Queen City, and yes, he can fly. With new, bigger bases, a pitch clock, and a limited number of pickoff attempts, the boys just keep on running.
Survival. I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep it heavy. Swag. Straight out of B-Clown, baby, all of you down, I get around. Explore the life and music of hip-hop legend Tupac Shakur on the Tupac channel. Oh, yeah. The Tupac channel now for a limited time on channel 104 and throughout Black Music Month in the SXM app, included in all trials and popular plans.
With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to Stitcher Premium podcasts and over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Exclusive SiriusXM show. The name of the show is Straight from the Heart, featuring me and the Plastic Cup Boys.
Hear the latest from Kevin Hart on his exclusive SiriusXM show.
We're talking about putting in work, talking about your ladies and the expectations that they may have. Wait a second.
Straight from the Heart with Kevin Hart. To hear Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app, filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Of the U.S. Open on SiriusXM 92.
That may be a U.S. Open winning shot.
The best in golf compete for the national championship in one of the sport's toughest settings.
So hard to get the ball up and down. U.S. Open rough, a foot off the green. That's the thing that makes this golf course so difficult.
SiriusXM's coverage of the U.S. Open, live from Los Angeles Country Club on Channel 92 and the SXM app, included with all our trials and popular plans.
To hear the U.S. Open on SiriusXM, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
ProPaint
days are here at Lowe's. Now through June 16th, Lowe's MVPs members can start earning 20% back in paint rewards via Lowe's e-gift card when you spend $100 or more on qualifying paint purchases. Stock up on top paint brands like our new and exclusive HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Spec Right Pro Interior Paint. Lowe's knows pros. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/pro loyalty terms. Subject to change.
Hey you, are you on Zillow again? Zillowing modern waterfront bungalows? Thinking about your outdoor shower? Dreaming about a garage for your boat, which you don't own yet? We hate to interrupt, but there's something you should know. Zillow is so much more than searching for homes. Now Zillowing means finding a top agent who's with you all the way, finding a mortgage with Zillow Home Loans, and getting the home you've been dreaming of, whether it's got a private beach or not. Download the Zillow app and let's get you home. Zillow Home Loans, NMLS number 10287.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici, let's get ready to rumble! On the Big Show, my name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me and people who like the universe, give the universe some praise. Because without it, we would all be floating around like Will Rogers in outer space, whatever they call that. I think it was Will Rogers in that spaceship that it was a round circular thing, and people made it seem like that's the best that science fiction could do. But maybe it was at that time. But I'm so glad that we came up with this Starship Enterprise so we can boldly go where no man's gone before. And speaking of that, today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton Big C Sports sent you. It's well driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. At the same time, you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 27 podcast applications from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and also GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast Republic, Good Pods, and the only one that used to scare me, but now it doesn't. But maybe it should. It's allfeeds.ai. I want to give that some praise because the robots are trying to take over. But my solution is to have a Teddy Pendergrass wrist, and when the robots get out of line, say, turn it off! Great Teddy Pendergrass said that. And like a can do, you can also follow Big C Sports Podcast, streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms all over the universe. You can find it on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and hopefully soon BET. Come on, Tyler Perry. I got the numbers. It's all fair in the world. If love and war, I got the numbers, if that makes sense to you. I also want to make sure that I pay homage to our veterans. A Veterans Crisis Hotline, they are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Rumor has it they will stand on their head to get our veterans some help. And based on that, I'm going to take a quick moment of silence. Back from the moment of silence, give that some praise. Really do love our Veterans Crisis Hotline. Rumor has it they will stand on their head to get our veterans some help. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I need somebody to lean on. And we all do, and they do a good job leaning on people. As I always want to say, veteranscrisisline.net. Not everybody has access to a computer, but most people have access to a phone, which should have the internet, and that's why it's easy to reach it in the palm of your hand, if that makes sense to you. I want to say, for you good old boys that are sports betting. I got Big C's Major League Baseball, and I got the power rankings, and I also got some information coming to you from the U.S. Open in beautiful Southern California. All's fair in love and war. If you have a problem betting and you like taking what they call a risk, if you're a risk taker, they come with big risk. 800 Gambler, and I know a lot of people they wanna bet money, and I'm not gonna mention names, but I do have a colleague of mine, and I know he won't get mad because I'm not telling anybody's name, but he was down in Vegas and he was gambling, and I'm not a gambler, so I don't even know what he was talking about some of the time, but I think he said they gave him a tracker or whatever it was, but he owed money and he was good for it because he's a high roller. Well, supposedly he's in debt $400,000, and he didn't pay the debt, and that happened. I think he said a couple of years ago, and now he's in jail. He went and got some issues with he and his wife. You know, he's an older man, and he went across the pond and got one of those 22-year-old wives. Hey, people do what they want to do, and now she's trying to. You know, he's in his 7 moons, if that makes sense to you, and she's trying to think how can she get rid of him. I think it was Kevin Costner. He had a $125 million house, and now he's going through divorce, and his wife, his second wife, won $80 million. She says he can't live on less than $80 million because she was making $35,000 when she met him. She got used to the lifestyle. Hey, whatever. Hey, people do what they want to do, and I don't know why people get married in the first place. But she needs $80 million to make ends meet when she used to living on $35,000. So whatever it is, they have their own issues, and 800 gamblers just like that. They always come to take, never to give. If you like to take and not give that some praise. If 800 gamblers, they don't come to help you if you lose all your money. That's a shame because guy, I mean, I don't know the guy personally, but he thought he would have a better luck with a woman if he went across the pond and got one of those 22-year-olds. You know, that had his own problems. And she says, I want half, Eddie. Eddie, I want half. He's almost 4 times her age, and she wants half. She called the police to get him in trouble, thinking that's how you get divorced. If he's in jail, then she could get half. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a sad story when you think about it. What's a 70-something-year-old man doing with a 22-year-old anyway, other than taking a nap every 2 hours? Anyway, I want to say 800 Gambler. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. Give light some praise. We all need that. We really do appreciate that from Comcast. I want to thank also Comcast, some good boys at Comcast. They had put together a commercial for Big C Sports, and they're still working on it. It's like, it's time for Big C Sports. And they're yelling. I said, do I really yell that much? And they said, yes, Curry, you do. So it's all good. I said, why is he yelling so much? They said, that's your verse. That's your voice, sir. Why is it so? When somebody calls you sir, doesn't that make you feel good? It's like you give me respect that I haven't necessarily earned. I still like it being called sir. At the same time, my show is always a little bit different. Like I like doing things different. I have no producer in my ear. Some people say that is painfully obvious, sir. And my show is fresh daily like Krispy Kreme and donuts. I always honor God and walk and talk by faith. You know, I always talk about reparations. And there was a Caucasian woman, I guess she caught on to it. There was a Starbucks coffee shop somewhere on the East Coast, I think Philadelphia, a couple years ago. There were some good old boys, some black men sitting down talking, and talking about a business meeting, and she said, if you're not going to order, you got to leave the restaurant if you're not going to order. And they said they were just sitting there having a conversation about what they were going to do. And so they called the police. Said there were some menacing black men, and they were sitting down at a coffee shop, and they didn't want to order. So they scared me. Well, long story short, the lady got fired by her boss, and it made national news. Would you believe they gave that Caucasian woman $28 million for being afraid and calling the police because she was afraid? And the jury gave her $28 million for being afraid of two black men sitting down at a coffee table and not ordering a coffee. Isn't that something? She got $28 million because she was afraid. If she got $28 million, what did they get? They got arrested and told to leave. But the white lady is like Emmett Till. She was afraid because they didn't order. And they were not the only customers in the store. I've been to Starbucks many times. I didn't order. I just sat down and worked on my computer. And then maybe I'd get a cup of coffee. But because she was afraid, she called the police on two black men. And she got fired for what they call racial bias or whatever it was, discrimination. Would you believe that white jury gave her $28 million? Because she was afraid. Afraid of nothing. They did nothing to her. But her fear and discrimination got her fired. But a jury gave her $28 million for a white lady being afraid. Isn't that something? If a white woman can get $28 million for being afraid, how much money shall black Americans get for being afraid and lynched and sold and murdered and raped and sold off? You gotta listen to that one more time. Because reparations is huge. And there's a white lady, I think it's Philadelphia. She was afraid that two black men came into the coffee shop. They were sitting down talking like a lot of people do, just talking business. And they did not order, so she got afraid. And so she called the police. Not because they stole something. Not because they were being aberrant. But because she was afraid. And the employer said that's racial bias. They fired her. The jury gave her $28 million for being afraid. If that's worth $28 million, what are black Americans going to get? And what are we worth in reparations? You got to give reparations some praise. I'm not telling $28 million because you were afraid and you called the police, and then the police show up and have the guys leave, and then you get fired and the jury gives you $28 million. Don't ever say you don't believe in reparations. She got $28 million for being afraid, not for being attacked, not for being harassed, just being afraid. They call them Karens. What a joke. Don't ever say you don't believe in reparations. I always produce the show, and you can Google what I said. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows based on everything that I have, my platform. I got a new platform. And then the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter and $28 million in our lives. I'm afraid right now. I want $28 million. Give me some praise. I want $28 million. Come on, you get $28 million for being afraid. Nothing happened to her. Not one thing. At the same time, the commercials are done, the stats provided. The storytelling, the play-by-play, runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch, curveball, swung to hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. Love hitting deep, if that makes sense to you. The show is uploaded to 27 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City and 4 TV platforms. Never miss a show, and hopefully going to have a segment on BET with Tyler Perry with Big C Sports, all fair and love and warm. Really do appreciate that. I love doing what I do on my programming. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy, and it's important to me because I know where I come from. I love giving praise to my beautiful great grandmother on my mother's side, called her Mama. Beautiful, loving, kind woman. Always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Really do appreciate her. And then my beautiful grandfather Hezekiah, another wonderful person. He was just a beautiful beautiful. Actually, I'm going to go with Pop, my great-grandfather Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. If we're saying, boys, get out of that barn now, he can fix anything. The real MacGyver, from planes, trains, and automobiles, he can fix it. He even knew how to deliver babies. One time, had a knock on the door. He said, hello? Hi, is Pop home? Little girl came over asking for Pop. I said, just a moment, Pop, someone's here to see you. He said, just a moment, I'll be right there. So he comes to the front door and she says, Pop, my mommy's at home and she's trying to have a baby, but the baby's not listening and it won't come out. And my great granddaddy said, oh, it's probably a boy. He said, don't worry, I'll be right there. Everything will be all right. And all he took was a duct tape and a water bottle. And a few minutes later, you heard, wah. That baby came out. Give Papa some praise. Could fix anything. All he needed was duct tape and a water bottle. And that occasion, he needed some olive oil, too. Olive oil is good for a lot of things. Really do appreciate Pop. Then my beautiful grandmother called her Madea. Oh, just like Tyler Perry's. Oh, Madea, his program. She's a beautiful, loving, kind woman, industrious. She was a seer. She could oftentimes look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. Really do appreciate her. She still helps me to this day. And then my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person. He was also a seer. Could oftentimes look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I can always depend on my mama. The most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give mama some praise. Come on, started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. In an all-men's league, they were trying to intimidate mama by playing baseball. This is a man's world. She said, hey, but it be nothing without a woman or a girl. Hey, I love giving my mama praise. She didn't back down. Really do appreciate mama and went on to win the championship. The best person I ever met in my life. In fact, at the church, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at our restaurants, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at home, everybody wanted mama's cooking. She say, son, how many plates have you had? I say, curry for 3. Because I was always trying to eat thirds. I got some big brothers. And if I didn't eat thirds, I might have to hear some hunger pains because they would eat everything. You know, we used to lick the plate. Mama didn't like when we licked the plate. We said, Mama, the food tastes so good. She said to go get some more. Love my mama with all my heart, my body, and soul. We didn't need no dishwater. We licked the plate. The food was so good. And then on my beautiful father's side, my grandfather called him Albert Curry. He was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland. He built a 3rd church in Central California with his own hands. With his own 2 hands. He also had owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Fifth Hill. They were Shell gas stations. But most proudly, he owned 40 acres of land. It's like the Emancipation Proclamation where Frederick Douglass was working with President Abraham Lincoln to craft the Emancipation Proclamation where every free black person was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. And unfortunately, when President Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. And he gave the land back to the segregationists in the Southern Confederates. He gave the land back to the Ku Klux Klan. He gave the land back to the people who waged war on the Union. There would be no United States of America if black soldiers didn't fight to the death. People hear about kamikaze pilots. Well, the black soldiers, we've all heard of Buffalo Soldiers. It's those black soldiers that helped the Union win the war. And because of that, President Lincoln gave them 40 acres and a mule to all free people. And Frederick Douglass was supposed to be the president of the Freedmen's Bank. But when Lincoln was assassinated, it all went awry because President Andrew Johnson was a bigot. He was a racist. And a white lady, for being afraid, got a jury to give her $28 million because 2 black men came to the Starbucks and didn't order coffee. And she said, I'm afraid they're scaring me. If they're scaring you, they had a coffee shop full of people. So their employer said that it was racial bias, so they fired her. The white jury said, wait, not so fast, my friend. They gave her $28 million for being afraid. Not being punched, not being assaulted, but being afraid. What do black Americans get if fear is worth $28 million? 40 acres and a mule was only worth $1.2 million then. If 40 acres and a mule was worth $1.2 million for the Emancipation Proclamation, how'd she get $28 million for being afraid? For all the lynchings, the murders, the selling off of kids, selling off of brothers and sisters, all the rapes that went on, beating from 1865, from 1619 to 1865, no pay, no pension, no health insurance, no nothing. You don't think those women were afraid? You don't think those children were afraid on the Middle Passage? So people say, oh, we don't believe in reparations. But just give a white lady $28 million for being afraid. Don't tell me we can't do reparations in the United States. Give that some praise. And then my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry Wickman, sat beside with my granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland and building a 3rd church in Central California. And then also having, my grandmother, sometimes she'd run the gas station by herself. There were times she could have been afraid as a woman in a gas station and people coming in to buy gas, and maybe somebody's looking around. She had a gun, but she could have, if she was afraid, there were times she was afraid. That's why they had a gun and a Dobermans if people got out of line. But at the same time, $28 million for being afraid. For being afraid. She called the police because she was afraid. And they gave her $28 million for racial profiling. Don't tell me we can't do reparations. See, that garbage still goes on. You think they give black women $28 million for being afraid of white people? Are they giving black men and women $28 million for being afraid of white people? The Proud Boys. Like the ones who were chanting, hang Mike Pence. Think about that garbage. I really do appreciate my great grandmother and my grandmother. I remember I was 8 years old walking through a hallway in Oakland. And it was about 10 o'clock at night. I was tiptoeing through the hallway. And she touched me on my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? You going to get some more cookies? And I'm thinking, how in the world does she hear me? It's 10 o'clock at night. She normally goes to bed at 8:30. And I said, cookies, baby, crap. What I'm looking for my reparations. And I'll take some cookies too, because sometimes I get hungry waiting so long. But I really do appreciate her. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And Big C Sports also, I never talked much about it, but I was also given a Bay Area Broadcast Excellence Award. And that's against all the Bay Area media, even the ones that have the right profile, if that makes sense to you. The ones that passed the paperback test. It was Charlton Curry that won the Bay Area Broadcast Excellence Award. And I'm so grateful for that. But I remember that too. But I just appreciate so many things that have happened in my life. And then I really do appreciate my grandmother. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we could all stay safe at night. There are military people who fought for this country, black men. And they didn't even get the GI Bill. Put their life on the line for the United States of America. No GI Bill. A white lady was afraid of 2 black men that did not order coffee in a Starbucks that was full of people. So she called the police. And they have those men leave. It made news. So she was fired by her employer. And the jury awarded her $28 million for being afraid. What do you think those black soldiers were doing with the Vietnam, Korean War, World War I, World War II? You think they were afraid? You think during the Civil War those black soldiers were afraid? Knowing that if they did not win the war that they'd be killed? And they got nothing. They got nothing. And then some people say, I don't believe in reparations. It's a joke. Reparations has to pass. If there's any justice, and it's going to pass. And I love talking about it. I know I'm the only one that does. As far as sports people, a lot of other guys, they're just afraid. Marshall didn't tell them they can talk about anything but how big, strong, and fast somebody is. But that's why God let Big C do it, if that makes sense to you. And then I love my dad with all my heart, my body, and soul. In fact, in the Air Force, My father's roommate was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And I love the part, and guess who's coming to dinner? It was Denzel Washington and Katharine Hepburn, but she was not afraid. She was not afraid. Some people would say it was Sidney Poitier. But they said, how are you, young man? And he said, King Kong ain't got nothing on me. Some people say that was for training day. But I think it was guess who's coming to dinner. Be that as it may, really do appreciate my dad. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. And a voracious reader. Love talking about sports and politics. One of our favorite movies outside of Malcolm X. It was the... People don't like the movie at times. It had a lot of derogatory language in it, Quentin Tarantino. But it was called Pulp Fiction. The great Sam Jackson, John Travolta. It had Bruce Willis and one of my favorite actors, Vin Rames. And before the big fight, Vin Rames told Bruce Willis, he said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. He said, say that. So Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. He told him, that stinging sensation you feeling, well, that's just pride bubbling with you. And he told him what a lot of sports stars are telling people nowadays. He said, look, pride. He said, pride only hurts, it never helps. And then I love the part that he just talks about that, like he said, boxing is filled with a lot of unrealistic muddy blockers who think that butt gets better with time like fine wine, but it don't. If you're thinking in terms of vinegar, then it do. If you were going to be the champ, you would have already been the champ. Now take this money, go down to the bank, and get your reparations, and give me some praise. I mean, that's a version I thought. But anyway, it's all fair number one. Love talk with all my heart, my body, and soul. To my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years. A great soccer player. One time she scored 6 goals. Left-footed in one game. It's like Daisy for the goal, the goal, the goal, goal. Left-footed. And she's a right-footed kicker, so she's ambidextrous. In one game, Daisy's also the first person. She set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. It was with a high school football player. We went on from there to become the first time in the history of the United States for the NFL Monday Night Football to broadcast live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until Big C and the crew got together and they called us the Dream Team. But some good old boys said if 2 N-words can do it, we could begin some insurrectionists. And they tried it. And they created shenanigans. And the show went away. They're having layoffs. I'm still growing. I love so much about what I'm doing with Big C Sports. Really do appreciate it very much. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And always, always just trust God. People change. People talk about people behind their back. Just be careful like that. And I love it. You can be anything. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Daisy would also help me set up when college coaches would come to the West Coast when she was in college and help do work with Big C Sports. And I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I pray that God gives you everything your beautiful heart desires. And then my handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, erudite, a good man. As I always tell you, Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Always trust God. Always trust God. And pay attention to Juneteenth because there's a lot of things happening in the black diaspora, and not everybody's happy about it. As I tell you, a white lady got awarded $28 million for having racial bias and calling the police on 2 black men in a Starbucks. And she was fired by her company for racial bias. But that white jury turned around and gave her $28 million because she was afraid because they were black men. Where did they learn that? Always mind your P's and Q's. Always trust God. As I always tell you, you can be anything you want to be. One day, Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up stats on players and teams for Big C Sports. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 27 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms and hopefully soon BET. And I remember one day Malcolm said, "Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote. Listen up, God." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and you'll see your show come up." And that's before it was even on the air. And now it's on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and soon to be a 5th platform. Malcolm spoke it into existence first. Just like I've told so many times, my mom always said, "Baby, just trust God." Isn't that something? I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And now, just like my mother told me over the years, God's listening to you. I've been invited to co-MC the National Black Wall Street Project, the 2023 Summit Awards Barbecue, Saturday, June 17th, 2023, beautiful Los Angeles, California, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's about solutions now. And it's put on by the inimitable Reverend Dr. Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. Give him some praise. It's about solutions. It's at the famed First AME Church, Los Angeles, California, 2270 South Harvard Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, over the weekend. And the National Black Wall Street Project, Beverly Hills, NAACP, Los Angeles chapters of the National Black Contractors Association, Young Black Contractors, Black American Political Association of California, and women of the NAACP, and the 1619 Reparations Party, and Americans for Social Justice. You got to give that some praise, because a white lady that got fired at Starbucks for racial profiling, she got $28 million from a jury for racial profiling because she was afraid. Nothing even happened. The restaurant was full of people, but she was afraid that these 2 black men wouldn't order, and she had a restaurant full of people. Called the police, and they showed up and made them leave. So her company fired her. The white jury said, "You got fired for calling the police on 2 black guys." They gave her $28 million. If she's worth $28 million for being afraid, what would Rosa Parks be worth for not giving up her seat? She didn't get $28 million. Neither did all the people who were lynched. Even the Black Wall Street, where banks were burned down, they didn't get $28 million. The federal government didn't even reimburse them. Anyone that says you're not for reparations, really? She got $28 million for racial profiling, being fired by her company, Starbucks, for racial profiling, and then the white jury said, "Wait a minute, you were afraid? Let's give you $28 million. National Black Wall Street Project, 2023 Summit Awards Barbecue, Saturday, June 17, 2023, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Solutions now. We all want $28 million, because I'm afraid too. You don't think black folks are afraid when we're being pulled over at night? I'm afraid. Yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, officer, no, officer. $28 million for racial profiling and being afraid. And President Abraham Lincoln said black people were supposed to get 40 acres of the mule. At that time, 40 acres of land was worth $1.2 million. How afraid do you think those descendants of chattel slavery were? Amazing, isn't it? I want to say to my partner, Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, just like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. It's been nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. I just speak the truth. United States Senate, 1862, the Homestead Act, gave white Americans 276 million acres of land, and white Europeans You just couldn't be black, even if you were afraid. I want to thank the Associated Press, Janie Har, March 29th, 2023. She interviewed me about reparations, the only sports programmer and sports podcaster in the universe that the Associated Press called to ask my thoughts on reparations after hearing me speak at the National Black Wall Street Task Force. Actually, the Wall Street, the Reparations Task Force. She called me, did an article. She mentioned President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, California Governor Gavin Newsom, California Senator Stephen Bradford, and Reparations Chair Camila Moore. You know, Ron DeSantis told California Governor Gavin Newsom, I'm not going to use the word, but it starts with a P. He said, quit peopling around and run for president. No respect for the children listening. Isn't that something? Google Survivors Today Act of 2017. The Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is United States legislation that requires the State Department to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist governments. Yeah, we need reparations. We're going to get them too. And you can always get into that. Even the United Nations Human Rights Chief called for reparations. And they're just talking about $5 million for descendants of child slavery. White lady was afraid of two black men racially profiled them, called the police. They took the black man. The police showed up, made the black man leave. The white lady got fired by Starbucks. And because she was fired for racial profiling, a white jury gave her $28 million. I'm afraid. Afraid of what? You know, that's just the way love goes. That's why I say reparations now, reparations forever. I'm going to talk on some things that are happening right now in the world of golf. And down at the beautiful, the U.S. Open, no golfer took a knee to honor our military and protest the blood money. They were in court. To me, this is funny. They were in court. The PGA and the LIV, they were in court because of the alleged blood money in Saudi Arabia and the buildings coming down, 9/11, all that stuff. But not one golfer took a knee, and not one of them protested. 2023 U.S. Open, the leaderboard, round one. There's some great golf being played in Southern California. Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele make history. Los Angeles, California, one of the most, and I'll be there over the weekend by the U.S. Open. The Los Angeles, California, one of the most anticipated major championships in the last decade, arrived Thursday with the 2023 U.S. Open beginning at Los Angeles Country Club, and there were storylines for days playing beginning, but Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele made sure that the sports world was talking about them by the time their final putts dropped Thursday afternoon. Fowler entered the clubhouse first, setting a U.S. Open scoring record with an 8-under 62, and that also ties the lowest round ever shot at a major championship. I want to give him some praise. For that. After starting hot and cold on the back nine, he poured in one birdie after another, and on the front, finishing 6 under across his final 9 holes with a nary a bogey in the stretch. They said, get in the hole. He was getting in the hole, if that makes sense to you. Some people like to get in the hole. Others have more fun getting out of the hole. But he liked getting in the hole, if that makes sense to you. And think about that. Later, Schauffele, he matched him with a bogey-free round, including matching 5 under score on the front 9, where he concluded his day. He said he knew it was close. He wasn't sure the exact number. He said he was really just trying to keep moving forward and make sure that reparations gets passed. They were saying reparations now, reparations forever at the 2023 U.S. Open. Tied for first, Xander Schauffele and Ricky Fowler. And they crossed the bloodline after the PGA and the LIV were up in arms. And now golfers are playing. They're playing both sides of the fence. But he made a lot of good swings. He said it's been a while since he's had some mid-range putts. So it's nice to make a lot of those, and he kept putting and putting himself in great position. And he picked his way around the course. And now he's going to make sure that he has a flag that says reparations now, reparations forever. You'll see that on Friday, if that makes sense to you. But everybody has their own thoughts about golf and all the juxtaposition of LIV and blood money and the PGA and their racism, because they were anti-black for many, many years, the PGA, and they never boycotted. They never said if black men can't play, then we'll boycott. They never said that. Not even the most esteemed white golfers. None of them said we'll sit out if all of them can't play. Where was John McCain? He was a fair man. A lot of these other golfers, they take the praise, but they didn't stand up for what was right. They weren't like Rosa Parks. Imagine Rosa Parks wouldn't give up her seat on the bus because of racism in the South, and she chose to make a stand. And you still had golfers saying, well, we don't want to talk politics, let's just play. It's all fair and level war. 62nd match Braden Grace effort in the third round of the 2017 Open Championship as the lowest score ever posted at a major. Neither Fowler nor Schauffele have ever hoisted a major championship trophy, but maybe it's just over the horizon. For Fowler, who is in the midst of a career resurgence in 2023, breaking through in Hollywood, of all places, hooray for Hollywood. It would be a great time for one of the game's brightest stars. And best of all, they're just getting started at the U.S. Open, and CBS Sports will update the story with scores and highlights from the U.S. Open. But that same CBS Sports, they've been covering golf for years. And CBS Sports is also asking the golf world to press for reparations for the descendants of chattel slavery. It can't just be me. All friend level work. Xander Schauffele, that good old boy, he matches Ricky Fowler with a record 62, just minutes after Ricky Fowler set the U.S. Open record with an 862. Xander Schauffele has matched it with one of his own. Schauffele went around the beautiful course Thursday in a bogey-free fashion, carding 8 birdies. 8! Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, but 8 birdies against 10 pars. 2 birdies in his last 3 holes. He said, get in the hole! And once he got in the hole, he didn't want to get out. A lot of men don't like getting out of holes, especially if they get in. If that makes sense to you. 2 birdies in his last 3 holes allowed him to become the third man to shoot 62 in a major championship history, joining not only Fowler, but also Brandon Grace from the 2017 Open. Give that some praise. You know, I was out golfing one not long ago with some friends of mine, and I was happy too. I shot 66, and I was so happy I shot 66 on the golf course, and I said, give me some praise. And then he said, Curry, how'd you do, Curry? I said, man, I feel pretty good. You know, I shot 66. He said, 66, man, that's great. It's 66? I said, yeah. He said, you mind if I see your scorecard, Curry? I said, sure. I gave him the scorecard, and the good old boy said, hey, Curry. I said, yeah. He said, you still got the back 9 to go. It was kind of ego deflating to me. I thought I won the tournament. I thought I was going to get the $28 million. But they said, no, Curry. You shot 66 on the front 9. You got to shoot the back 9 now. It's all fair level war. Give him praise. Oh, Lord have mercy. Life is so funny. Golf is a great game and becoming more inclusive, where now you have the PGA that was perturbed about some golfers crossing the color line, you know, the color red. They were perturbed, they crossed the color line and play for more money. But now they say, hey, we could use more money too. Now they're all in love together. They're laying in the same bed. They're all in the same bed. It's called a red wedding. After the red wedding, now they decide to kiss and make up. So the LIV and the PGA are kissing and making up. Give praise for kissing and making up. I wanna close out today's show, as I love telling you, The National Black Wall Street Project 2023 Summit Awards Barbecue, Saturday, June 17th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Some of the most prominent black business lawyers and politicians in the history of the universe will be there. Big C Sports will be co-emceeing the event, and I'm grateful. I tell you, Big C Sports is going to be $1 billion corporation. You mark my words, everything I've said has come true. God knows it. Put on by the inimitable, I call him Dr. Tony Pierce, Reverend Dr. Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project, a beautiful, beautiful, bright, intelligent, erudite man. I love giving him praise. Is on at the beautiful First AME Church, Los Angeles, California, 2270 South Harvard Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, on Saturday. Be there if that makes sense to you. And now it's time for Big C's Major League Baseball Top 10. Well, everybody has their own thoughts about Major League Baseball. I hate that the Oakland A's are going to become the Las Vegas A's, if that makes sense to you, because baseball they just don't care about their fans. All's fair in love and war. The Philadelphia Phillies made a major move up in this week's power rankings after going 5-1 over the past week, winning a pair of series last week, and the club was just on a hot streak. Really do love the way they've been playing baseball. I'm gonna go from 10 to 1, and again, it's my opinion, and everybody has an opinion, and your opinion is just as good as mine, and that's why everybody has the freedom of speech in the United States. But for Big C Sports, I have number 10 in Major League Baseball's top 10 power rankings. Runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch. Curveball. Swung on in deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. The LA Dodgers coming in at number 10. The Dodgers have been a dismal 9-13 since May 17. The club has lost its last 3 series, but don't look now, but the Diamondbacks have a 3.5 game lead in the National League West. But you know the Dodgers, they'll be coming around that back 9, if that makes sense to you, the way they always do. I think they won 10 of the 11 National League West championships, all fair and level. I got number 9 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch. Curveball, struggle on left field. Back to the wall. Home run! Say hello to my little friends. I got the Miami Marlins, and the Marlins cracked the top 10 for the first time this season, even with a 20-run differential, and they are now 8 games above 500. They won 12 of their last 15. The Marlins have been a high-contact offensive team led by the great Luis Arias, who is batting just below 400, batting .397. That good old boy is hitting deep. Right field going back to the wall, and that makes this team number 8 in Big C's Major League Baseball top 10 power rankings. Runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on in deep. Center field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. Why do the girls love the long ball? And why do men love to hit deep? The New York Yankees win. Disappointing homestand from the Yankees. The great Aaron Boone, his club went 2-4. They dropped the series to the White Sox out of Chicago and the rival Red Sox, but you know they're the Yankees, and just like those rats that run around Yankee Stadium, they will be, what did the Arnold Schwarzenegger say? I'll be back. Number 7 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. The runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch. Curveball, struggled in deep. Left field, back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. The Houston Astros, defending World Series champions. Now the Astros will get a much-needed day off after playing a game on each of the last 17 days. And the club showed some fatigue on the road this past week, going 2-5 while playing Toronto and Cleveland. But Dusty Baker has those good old boys. They're always fine-tuned to make a run at another World Series championship. That good old boy knows what he's doing. Number 6 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I have runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch. Curveball, struggled in deep. Left field, back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. The number 6 Toronto Blue Jays, Canada's finest. The Blue Jays gained the game from last week, but moved up 3 spots. After a lackluster performance against the Yankees, the Astros, and the Dodgers, Toronto has now won 8 of its last 11 after taking 3 of 4 from the Astros this past week. You know they'll be swinging the bat up in Canada, if that makes sense to you. And now, fighting for number 5 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. The count's full. The pitch. Curveball. Struggle and hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball. And yep, men love to hit deep. You got the Arizona Diamondbacks number 5. And the Diamondbacks are tied for the National League lead midway through the month of June. Corbin Carroll is not only the National League Rookie of the Year, front runner, but that good boy is doing his thing, batting 301, and he has 13 home runs. He's emerging as a legitimate MVP candidate. All fan love and war. We will see what happens as they come down that back nine. And fighting number 4 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. The count's for the pit. Screwball. Struggle to hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep down in Atlanta. Had it not been for a blown late lead versus the Nationals on Sunday, the Braves would have finished the week with a perfect 6-0 record and extended their winning streak to now 8 in a row. All's fair in level war. Those good boys down by Stone Mountain, Georgia can really play. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now, fighting for number 3 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. The count's for the pitch. Fastball, struggle to hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. They say hello to my little friends. The girls do love the long ball. Men love to hit deep. The Baltimore Orioles are making some noise after flexing. When tell you, they had a great showing with Felix Bautista. He faced 3 batters, and that good boy, he's amazing. Convinced he's currently the most dominant relief pitcher in baseball. He's 6'8", 285 pounds. That's about the same size as the good boy LeBron James. And he tops out at a 103-mile-per-hour fastball like a strike. He's a Jedi Knight trained long ago in a galaxy far, far away by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's 27 years old. And when he has it going, you may as well try to bat with a laser beam. And now, fighting number 2 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I have runners on first and third. The count's for the pitch. Fastball, struggle to hit deep. Center field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. They say the girls love the long ball in Texas, and men love to hit deep in Texas. What do they say? The stars are bright when it's deep in the night, deep in the heart of Texas. I think that's what I heard. The Texas Rangers, not too long ago, they were in the abyss. They built that beautiful $2 billion stadium, and they didn't have a lot of people showing up. Now, I have them Big C's ranked number 2 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. The Rangers had won their last 6 series prior to dropping the road series to the Tampa Bay Rays this weekend, and going to keep them in number 2 spot for now because the good boys down in Texas, they know how to shine bright deep in the night down in the heart of Texas. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now, fighting for number 1 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. The count's full. The pitch, curveball, struggle on the end deep. Left field, back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. And they say girls go crazy about a sharp dress man. The Tampa Bay Rays. Florida's been all over the news with the Miami Heat, the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Rays coming in number 1 for now for Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I'm telling you, the Rays remain at the top of my power rankings. They solidified their status as baseball's best team over the weekend, taking 2 of 3 from the Rangers. They're currently on pace to finish the season 114-48. I know they got in the hole. They fell in the hole at the Coliseum against the Oakland A's, but that was a lot of theater over there in the A's movement, and a lot of energy showed up in Oakland. But I still have them as a great team. And if you think about it, if they go 114-48, That would tie the 1998 New York Yankees for the third highest regular season win total in Major League Baseball history. Give Big C Sports Podcast Major League Baseball Power Rankings some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, I brought you the 2023 U.S. Open, and that's at beautiful Southern California, and Big C Sports will be there over the weekend. Also, the National Black Wall Street Project 2023 Summit Awards Barbecue, Saturday, June 17th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's about solutions now, and it's put on by the inimitable Reverend Dr. Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project, at the beautiful First AME Church, Los Angeles, California, 2270 South Harvard Boulevard, in the beautiful city of Los Angeles. It's about solutions, produced by the National Black Wall Street Project, Beverly Hills NAACP, Los Angeles Chapter of National Black Contractors Association, the Young Black Contractors, Black American Political Association of California, the Women of the NAACP, the 1619 Reparations Party, and Americans for Social Justice. We all deserve $28 million because we too sometimes are free. Give that some praise, praise, praise. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I hope that everybody can have fun with the beautiful holiday coming up. A lot of people celebrating Juneteenth, but give me my money. If being afraid is worth $28 million, what do Black Americans deserve? Especially when you read the book The Color of Law. You learn about the black codes and segregation and redlining and pig laws and Jim Crow laws, all that garbage. We deserve some praise. You got to give that some praise. Don't be shucking and jiving. Give that praise. Well, as I always say, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because some mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and some fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can call a taxi. You can sleep it off. You can walk it off. But don't get behind the wheel of a car where you've been drinking. The life you save may be your own, if that makes sense to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, but all you got to use, how can you lose? Obviously, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat because all the Big C burgers make me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism, even though it can get you $28 million, or domestic violence. And those women aren't getting $28 million. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day in honoring the late President Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. To honor the great late President Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. In honoring the great President Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. Have a super fantastic day.